I found the pregnancy test in my bathroom trash 30 minutes before I had to lead 600 Rangers in morning formation, and I knew immediately it wasn't mine. The test was simple plastic, pink and white, clinical, about 3 inches long. The kind of thing you buy at a drugstore and carry home in a paper bag. But the digital window didn't lie. It never does. Pregnant. In clear letters. No ambiguity, no maybes. I could smell it. That faint chemical smell from the urine strip. It was still slightly damp when I pulled it from the trash. She'd taken the test that morning. While I was in the shower after 3 weeks sleeping in Afghan dust, my wife was in our bathroom confirming she was pregnant with another man's baby. I'm Colonel Benjamin Garrett, 43 years old, Battalion Commander, 75th Ranger Regiment. I've done 3 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq. I've earned the Ranger tab, the Combat Infantry badge, 3 Purple Hearts. I teach ethics at Ranger School. I tell young soldiers that honor isn't something you wear. It's something you live. And my wife Amanda is pregnant. The math was immediate, brutal. 3 weeks in the field. Before that, a week of pre-deployment prep. Before that, I counted backward through our calendar. We hadn't been intimate in over 2 months, not since August. It was late October now. I had 30 minutes before I had to stand in front of 600 Rangers and lead them. 30 minutes to figure out how my wife could be pregnant when I'd been sleeping in Afghan dust for the last 3 weeks. I got dressed in my ACUs, buttoned the shirt, laced the boots. My hands moved on autopilot while my mind spun. The Ranger tab sat on my left shoulder, black fabric with gold lettering. Ranger. I'd earned it 23 years ago through 61 days of hell. The fabric was worn now, slightly faded, but when I touched it, I felt the weight of what it represented. Not the physical weight, it's just cloth. The weight of every promise it represents. Amanda was in the kitchen when I walked downstairs. She was glowing. Actually glowing. She had champagne at 0600 and 2 glasses. "Surprise, baby," she said. "We're pregnant." She handed me a glass. I stared at it, the bubbles rising. "I know," she continued, her voice bright. "I know we weren't trying, but isn't it amazing? A miracle, baby." She touched her stomach. "I took the test this morning. I wanted to wait until you got back from the field to tell you." A miracle, baby. I looked at her, really looked at her. Amanda Grace Garrett, 39 years old, my wife of 20 years. She runs the family readiness group for our battalion, supports 600 families. She has 45,000 followers on Instagram, milspouse influencer, posts about authentic military marriage. "When?" I asked. My voice came out flat. "When what? When did you take the test?" "This morning, like I said." "When do you think it happened?" She smiled, came closer, put her hand on my chest. "Remember that weekend before you left for the field? We finally had time together. Just us, no distractions. That weekend, 3 weeks ago, we'd gone to dinner, watched a movie. We hadn't had sex." "Amanda," I said, "we didn't..." "Yes, we did, Ben. Don't you remember? Saturday night?" Saturday night, I'd been working in my office, preparing for the field exercise. She'd gone to bed early. I looked at the champagne in my hand. The bubbles had stopped rising. "I have formation in 20 minutes, I said. "I know. I just wanted to tell you first thing, before you left." She was still smiling. "We can celebrate properly tonight. Dinner, the whole thing." I set down the glass, untouched. "I need to go." The Rangers were already forming up when I arrived at the battalion area. 6 companies, 600 soldiers, the best light infantry in the world. Airborne qualified, Ranger qualified, combat veterans, most of them. They stood in formation, their uniforms sharp, their bearing perfect. CSM Stone, Command Sergeant Major Robert James Stone, 51 years old, 28 years of service, stood at the position of attention beside the formation. When I approached, he saluted, sharp, precise. I returned it. "Battalion formed and ready, sir," he said. "Thank you, Sergeant Major." I took my place in front of 600 Rangers. The morning air was cold. October in North Carolina. I could see my breath. I could see theirs, 600 clouds of vapor in the pre-dawn darkness. "Rangers!" I called out. My voice carried across the formation. 25 years in the Army, you learn how to project. Welcome back from the field. Outstanding performance across the board. You made this battalion proud. You made the regiment proud. I paused. My mind was elsewhere, on a pregnancy test, on timeline math that didn't work. We talk a lot about standards in this unit, about what it means to be a ranger. The tab on your shoulder isn't decoration. It's a promise. A promise that you'll do the right thing, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching, even when it costs you. CSM Stone's eyes were on me. 20 years of reading men in combat. He knew something was wrong. Rangers lead the way, I continued. It's our motto. Has been since World War II. We lead in combat. We lead in garrison. We lead in life. That's what the tab means. That's what you signed up for. The formation was silent, attentive, dismissed for personal time. Formation at 1300 for AAR, Rangers lead the way. Rangers lead the way, 600 voices echoed back. They broke formation, headed to the barracks, to breakfast, to their families. CSM Stone approached me. "Sir," he said quietly, "you good?" I looked at him. Stone had been my senior enlisted advisor for 8 years. We'd been through 3 deployments together, firefights, casualties, the hardest moments of my career. "Yeah, Sergeant Major, I'm good." He studied my face. "Sir, with respect." "No, you're not. If you need anything." "I'm good, Stone, thank you." He nodded, didn't push. That's the Army way. You don't press when a man says he's good, but you watch. You stand ready. When the colonel has a problem, it becomes everyone's problem. I went back to my quarters, base housing, a 3-bedroom unit on the battalion commander's row. Amanda was gone, probably at the commissary or with other FRG wives. I had the house to myself. I needed to think. I went to my office, the small room where I work late nights reviewing training plans and casualty reports, where I write letters to families when we lose soldiers, where I keep my deployment records. I pulled out my calendar, the one I use to track major events, deployments, training exercises, family milestones. Amanda had said she was 10 weeks along. 10 weeks backward from today. October 28th landed on August 18th. August 18th. I flipped back through my calendar. August 18th. I'd been in Afghanistan, Kandahar province. We'd taken contact that day, Taliban ambush on a supply convoy. One of my Rangers had taken shrapnel. I'd spent 18 hours in a firebase coordinating medevac and counter-assault. August 18th, I was pinned down in Kandahar province watching my Ranger take shrapnel. I wasn't making babies. I was trying not to die. I counted forward, backward, different scenarios. Maybe she was wrong about the dates. Maybe it was earlier or later. I pulled out my DD Form 1610, deployment orders, official military letterhead with the watermark you can trace with your fingertip. The paper had that government document weight. March 15th through September 20th, 6 months in Afghanistan, leading combat operations, training Afghan National Army, getting shot at for my country. I counted again. If she was 10 weeks pregnant now, conception was mid-August. If she was 12 weeks, it was early August. If she was 14 weeks, it was late July. July, August, September, all deployment months, all months I was in Afghanistan. I sat back in my chair, stared at the calendar. The dates didn't lie. The deployment orders didn't lie. The math was brutal and simple. Amanda was pregnant, and I was deployed during every possible conception date. If you've ever done the math on someone's story and realized they were lying to your face, that sick feeling in your stomach when the numbers don't add up, just type timeline in the comments. You're not the only one who's counted backward and wished you'd been wrong. But I wasn't wrong. The calendar doesn't lie. I needed more information. I called the Provost Marshal's office, military police, asked for a routine security audit, standard procedure for battalion commanders. We review access logs periodically to ensure no unauthorized entry to quarters during deployments. The MP sergeant processed my request, said he'd have the report by end of day. Actually, I said, can you send it now? I'm doing quarterly reviews. Yes, sir. Give me 5 minutes. The email came through. PDF attachment, gate entry logs. Printed on that old green bar computer paper format, the kind with the perforated edges you tear off. Each line showed a timestamp, a CASI card number, a name. I opened the file, scrolled down to my quarters. Building 14B, that's my address. March through September, 6 months of deployment. My finger moved down the screen. There were entries, multiple entries, during my deployment. Captain Derek Ryan Mitchell, entry to quarters 14B, March 15th, 1100 hours, April 2nd, 1300 hours, April 19th, 1200 hours, May 7th, 1400 hours. I kept scrolling. The entries continued. May, June, July, August. My hands started shaking. 14 entries total. 14 times during my 6-month deployment, Captain Derek Mitchell, my subordinate officer, one of my company commanders, had accessed my quarters. Always between 1100 and 1400 hours. Always during duty hours. Always when the rest of the battalion was either deployed or in training. Always when I was in Afghanistan. The MP officer who'd sent the report called me back. Sir, his voice was careful. Did you receive the file? Yes. Sir, I noticed something in the review. Captain Mitchell has an unusual number of entries to your quarters during your deployment period. He paused. That's not standard protocol unless there was a maintenance issue or emergency. Should I file an incident report? I stared at my screen. 14 entries, all Captain Mitchell, all during the day, all while I was deployed, 14 times in my bed while I was getting shot at. Not yet, Sergeant. I'll handle it from here. Roger, sir. I hung up, sat alone in my office. The gate logs on my screen, irrefutable government documentation, each entry recorded by military police, time-stamped, CAC card scan. The system doesn't lie. The logs showed 14 entries. 14. All during deployment. All Captain Mitchell. All while I was in combat. My subordinate. In my bed. While I was defending his freedom to be a coward. I needed to confront Amanda, but I also needed to understand what I was walking into. I checked her calendar, the shared family one we use for appointments and events, FRG meetings, lots of them, more than usual. I pulled up the meeting minutes. Amanda keeps them all filed, part of her role as FRG leader. Printed minutes from family readiness group meetings. Her signature at the bottom of each page. Lists of attendees. I scanned through 6 months of minutes, March through August. Captain Derek Mitchell had attended 8 FRG meetings during that period. 8 meetings in 6 months. Male officers don't typically attend FRG meetings unless their wives are deployed. Derek's wife, Christina, was enlisted, a specialist in the military police unit. I checked her deployment records. She'd been deployed for 4 months during the same period. April through July, deployed to Kuwait, while Derek stayed at Fort Bragg, they'd coordinated it. While I was in Afghanistan and Christina was in Kuwait, Derek and Amanda were here, together at FRG meetings in my quarters, building a relationship while their spouses served overseas. I heard the front door open. Amanda was home. "Ben," she called, "are you here?" I walked out of my office. She was in the kitchen putting away groceries. She turned and smiled when she saw me. "Hey, babe, I got some sparkling cider for tonight to celebrate properly." I stood in the doorway, watched her move around the kitchen. 20 years of marriage, 20 years of deployments and reunions, 20 years of building a life. "Amanda," I said, "we need to talk." "Of course." She closed the refrigerator, came over to me. What's wrong? Are you worried about the baby? Because the doctor said the baby isn't mine. Her smile froze. What? The timeline doesn't work. I was deployed during conception. August, July. Whenever it was, I wasn't here. Ben, you're doing the math wrong. It was that weekend before you left for the field. That was 3 weeks ago, Amanda. You said you're 10 weeks pregnant. That's 7 weeks before the field exercise. She opened her mouth, closed it. Her face went pale. I pulled the gate logs, I continued. My voice was steady. Military report mode. Facts. Just facts. Captain Derek Mitchell accessed our quarters 14 times during my deployment. Always during duty hours. Always when I was overseas. Ben, is it his? She looked at me. Really looked at me. I saw the moment she realized she couldn't talk her way out of this. The moment the lies stopped working. Yes, she whispered. The word hung in the air. Yes, simple, final. How long? I asked. It's not what you think. It just happened. We were working together on FRG stuff, planning events. He was there when you weren't. He listened. He cared about what I was going through. How long, Amanda? 8 months. 8 months. The entire deployment. Before the deployment. While I was training soldiers for combat. While I was writing letters to families of fallen Rangers. While I was doing my job. She was building a life with my subordinate. I didn't mean for this to happen, she said, tears in her eyes now. But Ben, you're never here. You're always deployed or training or at the battalion. I felt invisible. So you slept with my subordinate officer. I didn't plan it. It just... In our bed, I said. While I was in Afghanistan. In our bed. She didn't deny it. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm. Ben, wait, please. We can work through this. We can get counseling. You've always said that Rangers don't quit, that we adapt and overcome. We can overcome this. I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. You're using my words against me. I'm asking you to forgive me. Isn't that what you preach? Forgiveness? Grace? Second chances? I removed her hand from my arm, gently but firmly. I need time to think. Ben, please, the baby needs a father. The baby has a father, Captain Mitchell. She took a deep breath, composed herself. When she spoke again, her voice was different, calculated. I need to show you something. She went to the kitchen table, pulled out a manila envelope from her purse, opened it, pulled out a stack of papers. She slid them across to me. Legal documents, North Carolina adoption forms, military DEERS enrollment forms, a thick packet, heavy paper, legal weight, stiffer than regular copy paper, and yellow sticky tabs, 9 of them, marking every page where I needed to sign or initial. Little yellow flags sticking out from the right edge. Someone had gone through this carefully, highlighted sections, written notes in the margins. Client signature here, date here. Witness required. The papers had my name pre-filled in blank spaces. Benjamin Thomas Garrett, adoptive father. What is this? I asked. Adoption papers, Amanda said. Her voice was steady now, businesslike. I've already talked to a lawyer. If you sign these, the baby becomes yours legally. No one has to know. We tell everyone it's ours. Derek won't contest it. He's already agreed. It's clean, simple. I stared at the papers, the sticky tabs, the pre-filled information. You had a lawyer prepare these. Yes, last week, before I told you. Before you told me. Ben, think about it. The promotion board meets in January. You're up for Brigadier General, 25 years of service. This is the pinnacle of your career. If word gets out that your wife had an affair with one of your subordinate officers, it's over. The board won't promote you. They'll question your judgment, your leadership, your ability to maintain good order and discipline. She leaned forward. But if you sign these papers, none of that happens. The baby is yours. We're a family. The board sees a stable home life. You get your star. Derek transfers to another unit quietly. Everyone moves on. I looked at the adoption papers, pre-filled, pre-tabbed, ready for my signature. Just sign it, Ben. The board meets in January. They need to see you're a family man. I looked at the due date she'd written on the first page. May 8th. 9 months from now. 8 months from conception. Conception that happened when I was in Afghanistan. I looked at my wife. This woman I'd loved for 20 years. Who just asked me to adopt her affair baby for the good of my career. She slid her lawyer's business card across the table. It sat there between us, a paper bridge between truth and lies. All I had to do was sign. I didn't sign the papers. I told Amanda I needed time. She didn't like that answer, said time was something we didn't have. The promotion board was in January, 3 months away. Every day I waited was another day the scandal could break, but I couldn't sign. Not yet. Not without understanding the full scope of what had happened. 2 days later, I got a visitor at my office, Specialist Christina Marie Mitchell, 28 years old, military police, enlisted, and Derek Mitchell's wife. She knocked on my door at 1600 hours, still in uniform. Her face was pale, her hands were shaking. "Sir," she said, "I need to speak with you, off the record." I closed the door, offered her a seat. She sat on the edge of the chair like she might bolt at any second. "What can I do for you, Specialist?" She pulled out her phone, held it like it was burning her hand. "Sir, I found something on my husband's phone. I need you to see it." She handed me the phone. The screen showed text messages. iMessage, blue bubbles, gray bubbles, time-stamped conversations going back 8 months. I scrolled. My stomach dropped with each message. Derek to Amanda. "Can't stop thinking about yesterday. You're amazing." Amanda to Derek. "Ben's at the battalion late again. Come over around noon." Derek to Amanda. "Your husband just approved my leave. He has no idea I'm spending it with you." I kept scrolling. The messages got worse, more intimate, more detailed, planning their schedules around deployments, around my schedule. Amanda to Derek. "Ben deploys again in March. We'll have 3 months." The date on that message, December, 4 months before my deployment. They'd been planning this while I was training soldiers for combat. Derek to Amanda. "Christina's deployment got extended. 2 more months. It's like Christmas." They were celebrating my combat extension, celebrating Christina's deployment extension. I looked up at Christina. She was crying silently. "Ma'am," I said quietly, "I'm sorry you had to see these." "Sir, I was deployed too, for 4 months, April through July, Kuwait, and the whole time..." Her voice broke. "The whole time he was here with your wife. They coordinated it, both of us deployed, both of them here." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I found more messages from before my deployment. Him telling her, "Christina leaves in 2 weeks. We'll have the house to ourselves." Like I was just in the way. I handed her phone back. My hands were steady, but inside I was screaming. "Specialist, I need to ask you something. Did you come here as a soldier reporting misconduct or as a wife seeking help?" She looked at me. Really looked at me. "Both, sir. My husband violated fraternization regulations. Adultery with a superior officer's spouse. That's UCMJ Article 134. But also..." Her voice got quieter. "Also, I thought you should know, before you make any decisions, about your wife, about the baby. You should know what kind of people they are." "Thank you, Specialist. This couldn't have been easy." "Sir, there's one more thing." She pulled up another message. "This one is from 6 weeks ago." She showed me the screen. Amanda to Derek. "If it's a boy, I'll tell Chris it's his. He'll never suspect. He doesn't track my cycle." 6 weeks ago, before Amanda told me, before the surprise pregnancy announcement, she'd already planned to pass the baby off as mine. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was calculated, premeditated, a trap. Christina stood. "Sir, I'm filing for divorce, and I think you should know Derek has been telling other officers that your wife is more fun than his boring military spouse. He's been bragging, sir, not to everyone, but to his friends. After she left, I sat alone in my office. The text messages played in my mind. 8 months of messages. Coordination around deployments, planning, scheming. My subordinate officer was sleeping with my wife and bragging about it. The next morning, I called Captain Derek Mitchell to my office. He arrived at 0900 sharp, stood at attention in front of my desk. Crisp uniform. Ranger tab on his shoulder, same as mine. Combat infantry badge above his left breast pocket, same as mine. We'd both earned those. We'd both sworn the same oath. "Sir," he said, "you wanted to see me?" I stood, came around my desk, stood 3 feet from him. "Captain Mitchell," I said. My voice was steady. Military bearing. Facts. "Did you have sexual relations with my wife?" His face went pale, but he didn't flinch, didn't break position of attention. "Sir, Yes or no, Captain?" "Yes, sir." At least he had the decency not to lie. "How long?" "Sir, I'd prefer to discuss this with JAG present." "How long, Captain?" He swallowed. 8 months, sir." 8 months during my deployment." "Yes, sir." I walked to my window, looked out at the battalion area, Rangers conducting PT, running in formation, training, preparing for the next deployment. "Captain Mitchell," I said, still looking out the window, "you took an oath when you became an officer. Do you remember it?" "Yes, sir." "What does it say about honor?" "Sir, I turned to face him. "You're a Ranger, Captain. You wear the tab. You know what it means. Rangers lead the way. We lead in combat. We lead in garrison. We lead in life." His jaw tightened. "Sir, with all due respect, you're never home. Your wife was lonely. I was just—" "Stop!" My voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of command. "You're a married man, a commissioned officer. You took an oath to defend this country. So did I. I kept mine while I was getting shot at in Afghanistan. You broke yours while I was gone." "Sir, I love her." Those 4 words hung in the air. I love her. Not I'm sorry. Not I made a mistake. Not even I was wrong. I love her. He didn't just want sex. He wanted my wife. My life. "Captain Mitchell, you're dismissed. Report to Lieutenant Colonel Hayes. You're reassigned effective immediately. I'll be filing a UCMJ complaint for adultery and fraternization. You'll be hearing from JAG." "Sir." "Dismissed, Captain." He saluted. I returned it. The sharp snap of military courtesy between 2 men who'd both violated different codes. He left. I stood alone in my office, looking at the empty chair where he'd stood at attention, where he'd admitted to loving my wife. The tab on my shoulder felt heavier than usual. That afternoon, my phone rang. Caller ID showed division headquarters. "Colonel Garrett." "Ben, it's Patricia Morrison." Brigadier General Patricia Ann Morrison, 54 years old, division commander, the officer recommending me for promotion. "Ma'am." "Ben, I need you to come to my office tomorrow at 0800. We need to discuss your promotion packet." My stomach dropped. "Yes, ma'am." "And Ben?" "Come prepared to be honest." She hung up. I stared at my phone. The promotion board. They knew. Somehow they already knew. The next morning, I sat in General Morrison's office. She closed the door, sat across from me. "Ben," she said, "I'm going to be direct. Your promotion board background investigation found some irregularities." "Ma'am?" "Gate access logs showing unusual entry patterns to your quarters during deployment. If you were Sarah, 19 years old, bound by the honor code at West Point, knowing your mom broke her vows, would you report her and uphold the code even if it destroys your family? Type honor. Or would you stay silent to protect the people you love even if it means violating your principles? Type family. I'm genuinely curious what you'd do. There's no easy answer here. Whatever you chose, Sarah had to live with the consequences. And so did I. Here's what happened next. Monday morning, I met with the JAG, Judge Advocate General, the military lawyers. I needed to understand what signing those adoption papers would mean legally. Captain James Foster, Base Legal Counsel. He sat across from me with the adoption packet Amanda had prepared. "Colonel," he said, flipping through the pages, "if you sign this voluntary paternity acknowledgement, you become the legal father of this child, regardless of biological paternity. Under North Carolina law, you'd be responsible for child support even if you later prove the child isn't biologically yours. Even if I prove fraud. Even then, once you acknowledge paternity voluntarily, it's very difficult to overturn. You'd need to prove coercion, and given your rank and position, that's an uphill battle." He turned to another section. "But there's another issue, a bigger one. Under UCMJ Article 134, if you knowingly help conceal an affair between your wife and your subordinate officer, you're participating in conduct unbecoming an officer. You're making yourself complicit." "Explain." "Sir, Captain Mitchell is in your chain of command. By adopting his baby and passing it off as yours, you're protecting him from the consequences of adultery and fraternization. You're using your position as his commanding officer to help him avoid UCMJ charges." He leaned forward. "Colonel, if you sign these papers, you're not just adopting a baby. You're making yourself part of the cover-up. The promotion board will see that. They'll know you prioritize personal reputation over professional integrity. And that's disqualifying for flag rank." I stared at the adoption papers on his desk, the sticky tabs, the pre-filled lines. The trap was perfect. If I signed, I became complicit. If I didn't sign, my marriage ended and my career was questioned. Either way, I lost. "What would you do, Captain?" I asked. He looked at me. "Sir, with respect, I'd ask myself, what would I want my daughter to do if she were in my position? Would I want her to compromise her values to protect someone who betrayed her?" I thought of Sarah, holding her honor code pamphlet, asking me what to do. "No," I said, "I wouldn't." "Then you have your answer, sir." One more piece of evidence, one more nail in the coffin. Amanda had a doctor's appointment at the base clinic, 16-week checkup. She'd invited me to come, said it would be good for us to start bonding with the baby. I went, not to bond, to confirm. We sat in the OB/GYN office, Dr. Sarah Rodriguez, base physician. She'd been our family doctor for 3 years. "Amanda," Dr. Rodriguez came in smiling, "and Colonel Garrett, good to see you both. Ready to see your baby?" She pulled up the ultrasound machine, applied the gel to Amanda's stomach. The screen flickered to life. "Perfect," Dr. Rodriguez said. "There's your baby. Strong heartbeat. Everything looks great." She pointed to the screen. Measurements, development markers. "Perfect 16-week ultrasound. Due date is May 2nd. 16 weeks. I counted backward. 16 weeks ago from today, late November, was mid-July. Mid-July, I was in Kandahar province taking fire, coordinating air support for a pinned-down platoon. 16 weeks? I said. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely. Based on fetal development, conception was around July 10th, give or take a few days. First trimester went perfectly, from what I can see in the records." She looked at her notes. "And Amanda, your first appointment with us was 4 weeks ago, right after you got the positive home test. You were about 12 weeks then." Amanda's face had gone white. She'd told me she was 10 weeks, told me conception was late August after I got back from deployment, but the doctor was saying 16 weeks. July conception? July. When I was deployed, when Christina was deployed, when Derek and Amanda had the house to themselves. "Actually," Dr. Rodriguez continued, not noticing the tension, "it's interesting. You must have conceived right in the middle of your husband's deployment. Talk about good timing." She laughed. Didn't realize what she'd just confirmed. Amanda looked at me. I looked back at her. The medical timeline didn't lie. Couldn't lie. Fetal development is science. Exact. Measurable. July 10th, give or take a few days. I was in Afghanistan, fighting for my country, and my wife was conceiving another man's baby in our bed. Thank you, doctor, I said. This has been very informative. We left the clinic in silence, got to the parking lot. Amanda grabbed my arm. Ben, let me explain. You lied about the dates. I didn't know. You lied to the doctor. You told her 12 weeks at your first appointment. You told me 10 weeks. You've been lying about the timeline, trying to make it fit, trying to make me think there was any chance, any possibility that this baby could be mine. Penn, please. The math doesn't lie, Amanda. The gate logs don't lie. The medical records don't lie. The only person who's been lying is you. I got in my truck, started the engine. Ben! She was crying now. Please, just sign the papers. Think about your career. Think about Sarah. Think about what this will do to our family. I looked at her through the window. I am thinking about Sarah. I'm thinking about what kind of father she deserves, what kind of example I'm setting. I drove away, left her standing in the parking lot, left the lies behind. I met with my lawyer that afternoon, James Reed, 45 years old, my college roommate. He handles both corporate and divorce law. He'd been waiting for this call. Ben, he said when I walked into his office, I was wondering when you'd come. You heard? Fort Bragg is 50,000 people, but it's still a small town. Word travels. He gestured to a chair. Sit, tell me what you want. Divorce, citing adultery. I want it filed before the end of the week. He nodded, started taking notes. Child custody? Sarah's 19, not an issue. The baby... I paused. The baby isn't mine. Biological father is Captain Derek Mitchell. Amanda wants me to adopt. I'm refusing. James set down his pen. You're sure about this? Because once we file citing adultery, it's public record. Your career... My career isn't built on lies, James. If it can't survive the truth, it wasn't worth having. He studied my face, then nodded. Okay, I'll need documentation, everything you have. I pulled out a folder, gate logs, text messages Christina had forwarded to my official email, FRG meeting minutes, medical records with the timeline, deployment orders. James flipped through it, his expression darkened with each page. Jesus, Ben, this is systematic, premeditated. I know. And you're filing a UCMJ complaint against Captain Mitchell. Already done. JAG is reviewing for Article 134, adultery and fraternization. He had an affair with his commanding officer's spouse. That's conduct unbecoming. What about the promotion? I took a deep breath. This was the hard part. I'm withdrawing my name from consideration. James looked up sharply. Ben, you don't have to... Yes, I do. General Morrison made it clear. The board is watching to see if I'll be honest or if I'll cover this up. If I stay in the running while this is happening, I'm compromising my integrity for rank. I won't do that. You've worked 25 years for this. I've worked 25 years to be a man Sarah can respect. That matters more than a star on my collar. James was quiet for a moment, then he pulled out his keyboard. I'll draft the paperwork. Divorce filing, custody arrangements, financial separation. This'll take a few days. But Ben, Amanda's gonna fight. She has a lot to lose. So do I, James. So do I. I wrote the letter to General Morrison that night, sat at my desk until 0300. The house was quiet. Amanda was asleep, or pretending to be. I pulled out stationery, Army official letterhead, started writing by hand. Ma'am, I am writing to respectfully withdraw my name from consideration for promotion to Brigadier General. My hand paused. 25 years, 5 combat tours, 3 Purple Hearts, Rangers I'd trained, soldiers I'd brought home, families I'd notified when I couldn't. It all came down to this letter. While my service record speaks to my professional capabilities, my personal conduct is currently under scrutiny. My wife engaged in an 8-month extramarital affair with one of my subordinate officers during my combat deployment. She is currently pregnant with his child and has requested I adopt the baby and conceal the truth. I have refused. Ma'am, I cannot in good conscience accept promotion to flag rank while my personal integrity is compromised. A leader's character matters more than his accomplishments. I have spent my career teaching Rangers that we lead by example, in combat, in garrison, and in life. I must now live those words. I will continue to serve with honor in my current assignment, but I will not pursue advancement built on silence and complicity. The Army deserves leaders who maintain the standard even when it costs them everything. Rangers lead the way. I am leading through the hardest terrain of my life, but I am leading with integrity intact. Respectfully, COL Benjamin T. Garrett, Commander, 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment. I signed it, sealed it, set it on my desk. 25 years of service, gone in a letter, but my daughter's respect, that I got to keep. CSM Stone found me in my office at 0500 the next morning. I hadn't slept, just sat there, staring at the letter. Sir, he said from the doorway, you've been here all night. Yeah, Stone. He came in, closed the door, sat down without being asked. That's the relationship we had. 20 years of trust. Sir, the battalion's talking. About your wife, about Captain Mitchell, about the baby. He paused. I need to know, are you okay? I'm okay, Sergeant Major. Sir, with respect, bullshit. I've served with you for 8 years, 3 deployments. I've seen you carry wounded soldiers under fire. I've seen you write letters to families of KIAs, and I'm telling you right now. He leaned forward. That woman doesn't deserve to stand next to you at change of command. She doesn't deserve to wear the title of commander's wife, and these Rangers know it. Stone. Sir, you've always said Rangers lead the way. Well, lead the way through this. Show these young soldiers what honor looks like when it costs everything. Because they're watching. They're all watching. He stood, came to attention, saluted. We've got your back, sir. Every Ranger in this battalion, whatever you need. After he left, I picked up the letter, walked to division headquarters, hand-delivered it to General Morrison's aide. There was no going back now. The divorce papers were filed Friday. UCMJ investigation opened Monday. By Tuesday, the entire base knew. Amanda was furious, called me at the office, screaming, "You're destroying everything, Ben, everything we built. For what? Your pride?" It's not pride, Amanda. It's who I am. You're throwing away your career. I'm keeping my integrity. There's a difference. The promotion board will never... I withdrew from consideration this morning. Silence on the line. You what? I sent General Morrison a letter. I'm not pursuing the promotion. I told her the truth about you, about Derek, about the baby, about the adoption papers. Ben, no. It's done, Amanda. I'm not signing those papers. I'm not pretending this baby is mine. I'm not helping Derek avoid consequences. I'm not compromising my values so you can avoid embarrassment. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but I'll regret it as a man my daughter can respect. That's worth more than a star. I hung up. Wednesday morning, I called battalion formation. Full battalion. 600 Rangers, plus families who wanted to attend. This was irregular, unscheduled, but the rumors were spreading. I needed to address it. They formed up on the parade ground. Companies in order, neat ranks, military precision. CSM Stone called them to attention. I walked to the front of the formation. 600 faces looking at me. Some confused, some concerned, some angry. They'd heard about Captain Mitchell. Rangers, I called out. My voice carried across the field. I've called this formation to tell you something personal, because you deserve to hear it from me, not from rumors. The formation was absolutely silent. No wind, no movement, just 600 Rangers listening. My wife and I are separating. There was a violation of trust. I'm not going to give you details. That's between me and her. But I am telling you this. I paused, made eye contact with soldiers across the formation. The standards I teach you apply to my life too. The code we live by, it doesn't have exceptions. It doesn't have carve-outs for convenience. Rangers lead the way, in combat, in garrison, in life. My voice got quieter, but somehow carried further. I've taught you that integrity isn't negotiable, that honor costs something, that sometimes doing the right thing means losing everything else. I've taught you that the tab on your shoulder is a promise to be better, to do better, to lead even when it's hard. I touched my Ranger tab, the worn fabric, 23 years old. I'm living that promise right now. I'm leading through the hardest time of my life, and it's costing me my marriage, my career trajectory, my privacy, but it's not costing me the thing that matters most. I looked across the formation, saw Stone with his jaw tight, saw young privates with tears in their eyes, saw company commanders standing straighter. It's not costing me your respect, and it's not costing me my daughter's respect, and it's not costing me the ability to look at myself in the mirror. My voice broke slightly. Rangers, some of you will face moments like this, moments where the easy path is right there, where you can compromise just a little bit, where you can look the other way, where you can protect your career by sacrificing your integrity. I shook my head. Don't do it. Don't trade who you are for what you want, because the rank and the position and the promotion, they can all be taken away, but who you are, that's yours. Guard it. The silence was profound. Rangers lead the way, even when the way is through hell, even when it costs everything. Especially when it costs everything. I stepped back. Sergeant Major Stone, the formation is yours. Rangers, Stone's voice cracked across the field. Attenhut. 600 boots hit the ground in perfect unison, and then, I didn't order it, didn't expect it, one Ranger started clapping, then another, then a whole company, then the entire battalion. 600 Rangers applauding, some crying, some saluting, all of them telling me without words, we see you, we respect you, we're with you. CSM Stone's jaw was clenched tight. I could see tears on his face. Later, he'd tell me that was the most powerful formation he'd attended in 28 years. December 15th, change of command ceremony, the formal event where I would hand over the battalion to my successor, not permanently, but for a temporary deployment I'd be making. Military tradition requires your spouse to stand beside you. It's symbolic, unity, support, partnership. I was standing alone. The ceremony was scheduled for 1,000 hours. The battalion formed up on the parade field. 6 companies in formation, dress uniforms, ceremonial rifles, division command in attendance, General Morrison, other colonels, families. Amanda wasn't there. Sarah was, sitting in the front row, West Point cadet uniform, gray and black. She looked proud. The ceremony began. Military protocol, formal speeches, passing of the guidon, the battalion flag, symbolic transfer of responsibility. When they called officers, center, I walked to the parade field alone. No wife beside me, no one holding my arm, just me, by myself. 600 Rangers watched, families watched, division command watched. I heard whispers. Where's his wife? I heard she... Shh. I stood at the position of attention, alone in the center of the parade field. General Morrison stepped forward. Ladies and gentlemen, she said, her voice carrying, Colonel Benjamin Thomas Garrett, 25 years of service to this nation, 3 tours Afghanistan, 2 tours Iraq, Silver Star, Bronze Star with Valor, 3 Purple Hearts, Ranger, Combat Infantry. He has led Rangers through the most difficult terrain, both literal and figurative. She looked at me. Our eyes met. He has chosen integrity over convenience, truth over comfort, character over career. He stands before you today as a model of what it means to be a leader. Not because he's perfect, but because when the test came, He chose right. She saluted. I returned it. The ceremony continued. But that moment, standing alone on the parade field, 600 Rangers watching, choosing vulnerability over image, that was the hardest position of attention I've ever held. But it was honest. When the ceremony ended, Sarah came up to me, hugged me, whispered in my ear, "Dad, I'm proud of you. I've never been more proud." That made it worth it. 6 months later. April, spring in North Carolina. I was standing in the woods at Camp Darby. Ranger school graduation. They'd asked me to be the guest speaker, to pin tabs on the new graduates. Sarah was there. She'd driven down from West Point. She was thriving, writing her senior thesis on military ethics. Her topic, honor codes in practice, when institutional values meet personal crisis. I was proud of her. The graduates stood in formation. 61 days of hell behind them, the hardest training in the Army. They'd earned their tabs. Sarah stepped forward to introduce me. "Rangers," she said, her cadet voice carrying across the formation. "Today's speaker is Colonel Benjamin Garrett, my father. He's commanded Rangers for 8 years. He's led soldiers through combat. He's earned every decoration the Army offers. But more importantly," she looked at me, "he's shown me what it means to keep your promises even when it destroys everything else. He's shown me that the tab you're about to receive isn't decoration. It's a commitment to do right even when wrong is easier, even when right costs you everything." She stepped back. I walked forward, looked at these young Rangers, these soldiers who'd just proven they could endure anything. "Rangers," I said, "congratulations, you've earned the right to wear this tab, but earning it is just the beginning. Living up to it, that's the work of a lifetime." I pulled out a Ranger tab, black and gold, the same one I wore, the same one I'd worn for 23 years. This tab means something. It means you'll do the right thing even when it costs everything. It means you'll lead even when following is easier. It means you'll stand up even when sitting down is safer. I looked at the graduate I was about to pin, young kid, maybe 22 years old, his whole career ahead of him. I did the right thing this year. It cost me a promotion to brigadier general. It cost me my marriage. It cost me my privacy and my comfort. But you know what it didn't cost me? I pinned the tab on his shoulder, smoothed the fabric, the same way someone had done for me 23 years ago. It didn't cost me my daughter's respect. It didn't cost me my soldiers' trust. It didn't cost me the ability to stand here today and tell you that this tab still means something because I protected what it represents. I stepped back, looked across the formation. Rangers lead the way, even through the hardest terrain, especially through the hardest terrain. Some of you will face moments where your integrity costs you everything, where doing right means losing what you want, where honor requires sacrifice. My voice was steady. Sure. Do it anyway, because rank can be taken, positions can be lost, promotions can be denied. But who you are, that's yours to keep or yours to lose. Guard it like it's the only thing that matters, because it is. I touched my own tab, still on my shoulder, still representing everything I'd protected. I kept mine. Make sure you keep yours. The formation erupted in applause. Rangers, families, instructors, everyone. Sarah was crying, happy tears, proud tears. After the ceremony, we walked together through the woods, father and daughter, both in uniform, both wearing symbols of honor we'd chosen to protect. "Dad," she said, "I heard Derek took a general discharge, avoided court-martial." "Yeah. He accepted separation from service. He's raising the baby. Christina divorced him. He's a single father now." "And Mom?" "She lost the custody battle. For you, I mean. Not that it matters. You're 19. But the judge wasn't impressed with her choices. She has supervised visitation with the baby. Derek has primary custody. He's doing okay. His family is helping." Is that weird? That Derek is raising the baby?" "No. The baby didn't choose any of this. Deserves a good home. Derek's not a good husband or a good officer, but maybe he'll be a good father. I hope so. We walked in silence for a moment. And you, Dad, are you okay? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Yeah, Sarah, I'm okay. The battalion has the highest re-enlistment rate in the regiment. The Rangers saw integrity modeled, not just taught. General Morrison put me in for a different award, not a promotion, but a recognition for ethical leadership. And I sleep at night. I put my arm around my daughter. I sleep at night knowing I did the right thing. That's worth more than a star on my collar. Sarah leaned her head on my shoulder. I'm writing my thesis about you. About this. About what happened when West Point's honor code met your Ranger code. About how they're the same code, really. About how you lived it. What's your conclusion? That honor costs something, always, and the people willing to pay that cost are the ones who change the world, one decision at a time. We stood there, a father and daughter, both wearing what we'd protected. Benjamin and Sarah redefined what family means. Not who you're born to, but who shows up with integrity. Who keeps their promises even when it costs everything. If you've built your own chosen family, people who earned your trust rather than inherited it, people who've stood by you when blood relatives wouldn't, tell me about them in the comments. I want to hear those stories. And if this story moved you, if Benjamin's choice to stand alone rather than lie resonated with you, hit subscribe. I tell stories about people who choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Real people, impossible choices, no easy answers. I'll see you in the next one. A year later, I got a call from Christina Mitchell, Derek's ex-wife. Ben, she said, I wanted you to know I'm dating someone, a good man, someone who treats me right, someone honest. That's great, Christina. You deserve that. Yeah. It's funny how betrayal can lead you to something better. I never would have left Derek if I hadn't caught him, and I never would have found myself if I hadn't left. We talked for a while, compared notes on healing, on rebuilding, on what comes after betrayal. We started having coffee, then dinner, then more. Turns out people who've been through the same fire understand each other in ways others can't. Sarah approved. Dad, she's good for you. She gets it. She was there. Amanda tried to cause drama, posted on social media about how I'd moved on so fast and abandoned my family. But no one was listening anymore. Her followers had dropped to a few hundred. The milspouse influencer platform built on authentic military marriage crumbled when the authentic truth came out. Derek was doing okay. Raising his son, they'd had a boy, named him after Derek's father. He sent me a message once. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do better. I wrote back, good, do better, not for me, for your son. The promotion board met. I wasn't on it. I'd withdrawn. But General Morrison was promoted. She called me. Ben, they asked about you, about what happened. I told them you're the kind of leader the Army needs, the kind who chooses right over convenient. They agreed. There's a path forward, if you want it. A few years from now, when the dust settles, ma'am, I appreciate that, but I'm good where I am. Leading Rangers, teaching ethics, living what I preach, that's enough. You're a good man, Ben. I'm trying, ma'am, that's all I can do. The last scene, the one that matters. I'm standing at Ranger School graduation again. 2 years after the first time, Sarah is with me. She's graduated West Point now. Second lieutenant, commissioned, going to Ranger School herself in 3 months. She's wearing her gold bars, her officer uniform, the same gray and black West Point ring I wore to her graduation. We're pinning tabs together, father and daughter, both Rangers, both living the code. I hold the tab, black and gold, worn fabric that represents everything we protected. This tab means you'll do the right thing even when it costs everything. I tell the new graduate, the same words I always say. I did the right thing. It cost me a promotion and my marriage. But I kept this tab, and I kept my daughter's respect. I pin it on his shoulder. Sarah stands beside me, wearing her own symbols of honor. The ceremony ends. We walk away together through the Georgia pines, through the camp where we both learned what it means to be Rangers. Dad, Sarah says, thank you. For what? For showing me what integrity looks like, for choosing it even when it destroyed everything else, for being the father I needed, not the one who was easy. I put my arm around her. Rangers lead the way, Sarah. Even through the hardest terrain, especially through the hardest terrain. She smiles, especially through the hardest terrain. We walk into the woods, father and daughter, Rangers, honor intact. The tab on my shoulder feels lighter than it has in years. Not because the burden is less, but because I'm not carrying shame anymore. Just pride, just peace, just the knowledge that when the test came, when everything hung in the balance, I chose right. And that's enough. Rangers lead the way, always.